We just, from the Thanksgiving holiday until today, midday, we've been focusing on chapter 6 of 10th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam, the story of Krishna killing the Putana demon. And now this is the beginning of chapter 12 that deals with the prayers of Lord Brahma. That's who's in the image here. Now, if you look closely at the painting, you'll see that Lord Brahma has 4 heads. One facing us, 2 to the left and to the right, or 1 each to the left and to the right, and then there's a head on the other side, 4-headed Lord Brahma. He's the firstborn living being in our universe. This is another painting of Lord Brahma. It shows that he's born on a lotus flower, and if you look below the lotus flower and stem, you'll see some splashing of waves. Those waves he wants to watch on a screen. Oh, okay. So the waves down below, that's the Garbhodak Ocean. Vishnu, there's 3 expansions of Vishnu. Mahavishnu expands the universes. Garbhodakshayi Vishnu expands within each universe. And then the 3rd Vishnu expands within every atom of the universe. So this is number 2. Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, when he enters into the universe, it's hollow, and half of that universe then becomes filled with water or perspiration from his body. And that splashing down there, that's the ocean of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu within the lower half of the universe. And then this Brahma appears from this lotus flower that grows from the stem, goes from the navel of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. And he's the first, according to the Vedic text, he's the firstborn living being. The lotus and its stem are the sum total of the karma of the living entities that are going to populate the universe. Should I do that again? Let me do that again. The Vedic picture of time is that time moves in cycles. And so during the time of cosmic annihilation, which is of equal duration as the cosmic manifestation, during that cosmic annihilation, all living entities are drawn within the body of Mahavishnu. And when it is time for cosmic manifestation, again, Mahavishnu, he exhales. And from the pores of his body, transcendental body, little seed-like entities, bubbles or eggs or universes in a tiny golden shape, come from his body and expand. And then Mahavishnu expands himself into each of those universes. Now, the sum total of the living entities, I'll do it slow motion. they're within his body before. So the universe has come out, but he's also doing the second thing. He's glancing at the totality of material elements. It's called pradhan. And with his glance upon pradhan, the living entities that were within his body enter into that pradhan. They're carried by his glance. They're transferred from within him into the field of the material energy. That field of the material energy starts to cling to these universes, as little seeds. And then as he expands himself into each universe, a universe's worth of living entities are within the body of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So Mahavishnu is all living entities. One universe's worth of living entities are within Garbhodaksha Vishnu. And he's reclining on this ocean, Garbhodak ocean. And that when it's time for the universe to be generated, those living entities that were within his abdomen or within his body, they have karma, because time is now moving. Time moves their karma, and it comes out from his body in the form of the stem. And Brahma appears on the top of the stem. And the picture shows into his ear comes the sound of Krishna's flute. It comes out of his mouth in the form of Gayatri Mantra, and he meditates on that Gayatri Mantra. His mantra guru is Krishna, or Krishna's flute. It comes out in the form of Gayatri Mantra. And that appears in his hand. You see in the hand that's over here, that's the Vedas. So he manifests the Vedas from his mouths. But the source of the Vedas comes from Krishna, and it comes from the mantra that was given by Krishna. Like we had this discussion about mantra diksha. Brahma was initiated by Krishna through sound, and it came out in the form of mantra. And then the Vedas became manifested. And then after Brahma became enlightened, he then did the service that was expected of him or assigned to him, and that is, he began manifesting within the universe the structure for those living entities that were in Garbhodaksha Vishnu's body to have places of residence for their worldly activities. He engineered the universe. The blueprint wasn't his. He was just like the engineer that built it from the higher, middle, and lower planetary systems. Here's another painting showing what are the things that came from Brahma after receiving his mantra and becoming enlightened through the chanting of his mantra. There's very, very small letters, so you can't read it unless you get really close. But the Sanskrit alphabet is shown. There's parts of the Vedas that are shown. The Vedas that deals with music, the Vedas that deals with medicine, the Veda that deals with architecture, the Veda that deals with different branches of knowledge of the Vedas became manifest from Brahma. The 4 Kumaras became manifest from Brahma. They're pictured at the very top on his crown, those 4 Kumaras, and so forth. It gives details and details. The painting is just illustrating some of the details that are found in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he is Pita Maha. He's the grandfather, the father of all living entities. He comes directly from Vishnu's body, and then from him comes the progenitors of mankind, or Prajapatis, and from them the different populations and even species come from him. So we're all his ancestors, so to speak. Here's Narada Muni, comes from his chest, and so forth. There's different manifestations from him. So this is that same painting again, and in the chapter 14, which is what I'm going to begin on Monday, we're going to hear prayers spoken by Brahma to Krishna. It's a very nice section, very illuminating section. Here's a painting showing Brahma offering his prayers. There's Krishna in Vrindavan because he went to see or visit or pay his respects to Krishna in Vrindavan, and there's a pastime that's found in chapter 12. So what I'm going to narrate this evening is Canto 10, chapter 12. For the first something like 10, 12 verses, it describes what happens when Krishna is just 5 years old, and his activity is taking care of the cows, or calves, because he's just 5, so he isn't given cows yet. But the calves, and this is Balaram with the plow over his shoulder. This is one of his cowherd boy friends, and this is Mother Jasoda. And Mother Jasoda is very attached to Krishna, lovingly, and she likes to fuss budget like mothers sometimes do, to make sure his garland is just right, to make sure he has enough kachoris in his lunch pail, to make sure that Balaram knows to look after him, because Krishna gets a little childish sometimes. And so nice description, after getting up in the morning and bathing and thising and thating and breakfast, it's time to go, and his mother comes running after him and adjusts this and makes sure that, and finally Krishna says, "Mother, I have to go." And so she reluctantly sends her son off, and Krishna goes with the cowherd boys, taking care of the cows in the forest. And what do? There's verse after verse after verse describing their playful activities. This painting is showing that sometimes they imitate the movements and the strutting of the peacock. Sometimes they make the movements and croaking of frogs. Sometimes they make like the birds that are taking flight, and they make bird sounds. And sometimes they play games like this one. This is Madhu Mangal, because he's a Brahmin. Amongst Krishna's friends, they're all Vaishyas, but he's a very nice, good friend of Krishna. And they play doing things like snatching one boy's lunch bag and then running. And this is Madhu Mangal running after, and then they throw the lunch to another cowherd boy, and then he runs after that cowherd boy, and he gets close to that cowherd boy, throws to another cowherd boy, and he starts crying and said, "You're in big trouble. You're offending a brahmana, and give me back my lunch bag." And they laugh, and they're just playing like children will play. There's verse after verse describing the little activities. Sometimes they climb trees. Sometimes they sit around Krishna as Krishna is playing upon his flute, and they're just listening and absorbed in the chanting sound of Krishna's flute. In this whole section, there's a very celebrated verse that our acharyas speak about again and again, and Prabhupada particularly like this Krita Punya Punja verse. We'll go through the meaning. Itam Satam Brahma Sukhanubhrutya. There's 4 categories of people. The first is those that are seeking Brahmasuk. And then the second is Dasya Gatanam Para Daivatena. There's those who are in Dasya Rasa. They're serving Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Some want the happiness of Brahman. Some want to be his servants in the Dasya position. Some are captured by the illusory energy, and they see him as a material personality. And the cowherd boys, sakhas, they are simply playing with him. So some see him as the source of the happiness of Brahman. Some see him as the worshipable Lord. Some see him as an ordinary person. And some are playing with him. This is the cowherd boys. Krita Punya Punja indicates that they've done many, 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 many lifetimes of devotional service. So, Satam, this is the word for word. Satam indicates transcendentalists. Brahmasuk, you know, the effulgence of Krishna has sukh, or happiness, within it. This dasyam, there are servitors. Gatanam, they've accepted Krishna as para daiva, as the supreme person. So those are two categories. Those that want Brahmasuk, those that want to be engaged in his service. Maya shatanam, those in the clutches of the material energy. Nara darakena, they think of him as an ordinary child. Nara darakena. And then the cowherd boys, Krita Punya Punja, all those boys who had accumulated the results of life after life of pious activities. They're very special. There's many, many, many living entities that are disconnected with the personality of Godhead. Those who are connected see in these ways. And then there's the cowherd boys. The point is, their position is very rare, and they're very special souls. That section ends, it's a very beautiful section, with Shukadeva Goswami saying, Krishna, with his Yogamaya potency, he brought the Agasura demon. So the Agasura demon is in the painting here. He's a giant serpent, 12 miles long, where he was in the path that they would follow. And his plan was to kill Krishna. Now the demigods are shown later, or at least in some other paintings. They knew of Agasura, they knew he was a demon, and they were very afraid of him. Krishna is going to destroy him. So what happened is the cowherd boys, after this scene of playing and playing and playing and playing, you really get the picture. They're just frolicking and they're enjoying, like little boys will enjoy when they get together, enjoying and enjoying. And in the course of that enjoyment, they see this giant serpent. And they start to question each other. What is that? We've never seen that here before. Maybe it's something that Krishna put here just for play. Maybe it's a hill. Maybe, and then some said, no, look, it looks like a giant serpent. And they started to become afraid. And some of the other boys said, no, don't worry. We've had experience, plenty of experience. If there's some difficulty, Krishna will take care of us. Let's go see what's inside. So they playfully went inside, and the calves just followed the cowherd boys wherever the cowherd boys went. And with their tails raised, they went inside the mouth of Agasura. And Krishna's seeing this happening. It's a very intriguing section where Krishna sees this happening. He wants them to not go inside the mouth of the Agasura demon because he knows what's going on. But it's too late. And he becomes bewildered, which is bewildering. Because how can God become bewildered? He can't become bewildered. He's omniscient. The explanation is it's his own Yogamaya. He is marveling at how his own Yogamaya potency is influencing even him. But the Yogamaya potency is to fulfill his pastimes and to bring his happiness. So he's enjoying this moment of uncertainty. And in the next moment, he knows what to do. So in the next moment, what he does is he enters the mouth of Agasura demon because he knows that Agasura demon wants to kill him. So by touching his feet to the body of the Agasura demon, he will purify him. And the Agasura demon wants to swallow him. It's a big, like a python. And what Krishna does is he uses his mystic powers and he becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And the body of the Agasura demon stretches bigger and bigger, but Krishna stretches more than he can. And eventually the movement of air, life air within the serpent's body is blocked. And then the soul leaves from the soft Brahmarandra, the top of his head, and like a big fire goes into the sky. And as Krishna departs the mouth of the Agasura demon, the soul merges into the body of Krishna. And the cowherd boys leave the mouth of the Agasura demon and think, how wonderful is Krishna. Let's go have lunch. There's just plain. So they go to have lunch. And the whole scene that had just happened, that by divine arrangement, that's when Brahma came and he saw the whole thing happening. And he was quite amazed. And then he began to contemplate, who is this little boy? So here's the scene that he was observing. Krishna's in the center, and the cowherd boys are all around him in a circle. And Krishna, by his mystic power, he's manifesting himself in such a way that the boys think that Krishna is looking at me alone. And each one of them are thinking like that. He's so attached to me, he can't stop looking at me. And they're all thinking the same. Lord Chaitanya had a similar pastime in his Leela. And Brahma began to consider. Brahma, who resides in the higher planetary system in the sky, had observed the activities of the most powerful Krishna in killing and delivering Agasura, and he was astonished. Now that same Brahma wanted to show some of his own power and see the power of Krishna, who was engaged in his childhood pastimes, playing as if with ordinary cowherd boys. Therefore, in Krishna's absence, Brahma took all the boys and calves to another place. Thus, he became entangled, for in the very near future, he would see how powerful Krishna was. His contemplation was, he made a boo-boo. He was considering, I'm very powerful. I've created a whole universe. Here's this little boy. I'd like to see the exhibition of his powers. What's the limit? So to test the limit of Krishna's powers, he used his powers. What he did was, as the boys were sitting underneath a tree having their lunch, and the calves started wandering here and there, one of the cowherd boys noticed that the calves, they've wandered away, and our livelihood is to protect the calves. Krishna said, don't worry. I'll find the calves. You just continue with your lunch. So what had happened was Brahma had taken all the calves and placed them in a cave. And when Krishna went looking for the calves, he couldn't find the calves. And when he came back, he couldn't find the cowherd boys either, because Brahma put the cowherd boys and the calves inside a cave. And after he put them in the cave, he flew back on his winged carrier, swan carrier, to find what would Krishna do. And what did he find out that Krishna did? There he was, having lunch with all the cowherd boys. And he thought, wait a minute, I just put them in the cave. And so he went back and looked in the cave, and there they were in the cave. And he went back, and there they were having lunch. And he became bewildered. What's going on? And then, because Krishna was reciprocating, Brahma is his devotee, and he was curious to see what's the limit of Krishna's powers. So he wanted to show up that there's no limit to my powers. So each one of these cowherd boys and calves, simultaneously manifesting those cowherd boys and calves, each one of them manifested forms of Narayan, with 4 arms and the symbols of Vishnu in each hand. And here's some of the things according to the Bhagavatam, chapter 12 says, all the Vishnu Murtis were surrounded by the opulences, headed by Anima Siddhi, by mystic potencies, headed by Aja, and by the 24 elements for the creation of the material world, headed by the Mahatattva. So that's each one of these forms has all these things surrounding. Then Lord Brahma saw that Kala means time, and Swabhava means nature, Samskara, Kama, Karma, and the gunas, and their own independence being completely subordinate to the potency of the Lord, had taken forms, and were all worshipping those Vishnu Murtis. The personified Vedas were there, and the demigods were there, and there's this big cacophony of sound. They're all offering prayers to Krishna, or Vishnu. So there's Krishna, there's the cowherd boys, and there's the calves, and each one of the calves and cowherd boys had forms of Lord Vishnu or Lord Narayan, surrounded by all these different other entities, all offering prayers. Pretty amazing. It is said in the Sanskrit, this is his Atarkya Nija Mahimani. Nija means his own. Atarkya Mahimani. This is his inconceivable opulence. So so what Brahma wanted was fulfilled. Krishna knew, he didn't say anything, but Krishna knows the heart of his devotee. And when the devotee like Brahma wants something, he fulfills. What's the limit of... So he was using his mystic power to take all the calves, keep the calves and the cowherd boys in a cave. And what happened was, Brahma's time, it was just a moment between going back and forth between the cave and when the boys were sitting. But that's in Brahma's time, and in earthly time a whole year had passed. Because we know from modern science, relativity, It's in the Vedas. Time is relative. On the higher planets, a short period of time can be a whole year here. So what happened, the next chapter is chapter 13, because it says at the end of this chapter that a year passed, and then the cowherd boys went back to the village and told mom and dad, hey, Krishna killed the Agasura. So chapter 13 begins saying, wait a minute, how can it be spoken of as if it's present tense when it happened 1 year ago? What's going on? That was Maharaj Pariksit asking. And then the whole chapter 13 is narrating another mystical arrangement of Krishna, that is, the forms of the calves and the cowherd boys were exact replicas, duplicates of the calves and the cowherd boys. So when they went back home at the end of the day, their mothers didn't even recognize it wasn't their son. It was Krishna. But the mothers, had a desire to have Krishna as their son. They had affection for their son, or sons, but they had special affection for Krishna. They wanted Krishna as their son, so he became their son for a whole year. And they took care of him as mother takes care of a son. And the calves were Krishna, because the cows, they also wanted to give their milk to Krishna. So at the end of the day, when the calves went back to their mothers, the mothers gave their calves their milk. So they were feeding Krishna their milk because they wanted Krishna. They wanted that relationship with Krishna for a whole year. And because of the Yogamaya potency, no one figured it out. Towards the end of the chapter, it's very interesting, Balaram, that particular day that this Agasura demon being killed and the cowherd boys and calves being kidnapped, Balaram wasn't there. It was by design, he wasn't there. He had gone with his mother to some festival. It was some auspicious event that an astrologer had said, and so Rohini took Balaram with her to take part in that festival. So when the cowherd boys went back, he also didn't detect. But towards the end of the chapter, he started, the Yogamaya influence on Balaram started to be withdrawn, and he started little by little to picture and figure out what's going on. And then he asked Krishna, and Krishna told him, this is what's going on, confirming the pastime. And Balaram thought that was really good. That's a question, a discussion between Maharaj Pariksit and Shukadev Goswami, and that is kind of where chapter 13 ends, and chapter 14 begins with Brahma offering prayers. So after he came back and he saw all the calves and cowherd boys sitting there, he then, after the calves and cowherd boys and this display that you see here, the last thing that Krishna did was poof. They all just disappeared, indicating his expansions, because as we see here, his opulences or potencies are unlimited and inconceivable. So he just withdrew everything. He expanded everything, and he withdrew everything. Poof. Effortlessly. Brahma fainted, and he began offering prayers. That's chapter 14. So we just gave you a little gloss of chapters 12 and 13, leading up to where I'm going to begin on Monday, I guess, when I get to Chicago. Long drive to Chicago. So to discuss Brahma's prayers. They're very wonderful prayers. Now that you have your Bhagavatam, you'll be very eager to find out what Brahma has to say to Krishna, because he's the most intelligent being in the universe. He's the firstborn living being, but because of his position of having to create, or not exactly create, but be the chief engineer of this universe, assemble the universe, he has to have really vast knowledge. And with that vast knowledge, he uses it in so many ways, and also all of the Vedic knowledge is within him. And so his prayers are very elevated, filled with very important understandings of Krishna Tattva, truths about Krishna, because he knows. He not only knows because he received that knowledge from within his heart, from Krishna's playing upon his flute and the Gayatri mantra entering his ear and coming out, and his meditation, but now he has directly experienced it. You could say direct realization of the unlimitedness of Krishna, the source of everything. So his prayers are they're up there. And the pastime is very charming. We discussed chapter 12. I think it took 20 classes to discuss the details of that Brahma Vimohan Leela, the cowherd boys and their activities with Krishna. And then the scene changes and the Agasura comes and Krishna delivers Agasura. All arranged by this same Yogamaya potency. He called Agasura to come. And all of this is happening by the same. It's his spiritual potencies manifesting this pastime for Brahma. That's Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Just a little bit on the Krishna Tattva topic. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, there's the source of everything, including the various avatar forms of the Lord. And this form of Krishna in Vrindavan is that source. From Krishna comes all these Vishnu forms, and all the energies of all the Vishnu forms, and all the energies of the material creation. And they're personified with spiritual form, and they're all moving according to the indication of Krishna. He doesn't have to do anything. He just desires, and voila. And his desires are withdrawn, and voila. Effortless. He's the source of everything, and he's having pastimes in Vrindavan as if he's a little boy, enjoying with his friends, enjoying with his mother, enjoying with the young gopi friends, enjoying with the cows, enjoying with the peacocks, enjoying with all the forest animals and trees, and he's just having a blast and having his childhood pastimes and delighting them in that, in a material but a fully spiritual sense. They're made ecstatic just by his glance or his presence, and very kindly, like stepping on the tongue of the Agasura demon, purifying him and giving him liberation. It was part of his having fun, giving the liberation to Agasura. Very amazing. So one that doesn't accept this, that the source of everything has unlimited and inconceivable potencies, takes this, that's a cute story, fanciful story, imagination and fiction, mythology. But it's not. It's a display of Krishna's powers and his enjoying pastimes with the cowherd boys, with the calves, with the mothers of the cowherd boys, with the cows, the mothers of the calves, and with Brahma. All each in their particular way to suit the nature of the individual. It's this loving exchange. So, Srimad Bhagavatam is now in your home. You have a grand adventure going through it little by little. See if there's some discussion. Nice paintings. How's the internet been holding up? Okay? Okay, good.
The episode of Agasura and several other episodes, including Mahabharata, yeah, that's a separate episode, not part of this. If we see a trend, the trend is around Krishna lets the devotees get into trouble.
And then he rescues them.
He's not stopping them to get into trouble. What's going on there?
What's going on there?
Yeah. He could have stopped them. Plain and simple.
Yeah. I understand the question. I'm just waiting for you to come to a close of your inquisitiveness.
No, that's all what I have in my mind.
Okay,
whether
fine.
It's Agasura, whether it is Mahabharata, Draupadi's Cheerhern, they all got into trouble somewhere. In the social or the materialistic world point of view.
Sure. Thank you for adding that, because that's the clue or the key. Is there from a rasa point of view, rasa,
Mm-hmm.
there are 5 primary mellows or rasas. And there are ways to stimulate those rasas, to enhance them, enrich them, or variegate them in such a way that it becomes heightened. And one of the things, there's not only one thing, but one of the things is, uh-oh, Krishna, and then Krishna comes. It's a spike or a wave that rises, that it nourishes the primary rasa. It's not a difficulty at all. From a worldly point of view, uh-oh. And from the spiritual point of view, here comes a wave. And then they're riding the wave. And then the wave comes down. It gets so... According to Rupa Goswami, the spiritual world is an ocean or sindhu of prema rasa. Love, tasty love of God. And that tastiness of love of God sometimes looks like astonishment. There's secondary rasas that are given names, and they're just nourishing the primary rasa. So why does Krishna could have stopped it? Krishna didn't stop it. Why didn't he stop it? And not only this, but some other and some other, some other. So, why didn't he stop it? Because he could stop it. He's all powerful. It's not they're as safe when they're entering the mouth of Agasura as when they're playing in the forest with the birds and the frogs and the monkeys and feeding, swinging from tree to tree like the monkeys, and it's all part of the mood of and so mood of enjoyment is variegated in the spiritual plane. It's all variety. Say it negatively. There isn't some variety that's missing. It's all there, but it's not fearful, or it's not frightening, or it's not awful. It's a variety of ecstasy. From the material point of view, he shouldn't do that. Or why does he do that? From the spiritual point of view, he's stimulating their love in different ways. That's what he does. That's why he comes, to engage in pastimes with his loving devotees. And incidental, not just secondary, but our acharyas say incidental is the killing of demons. That's just part of like, oh no. And then Krishna saves them. And the cowherd boys, that's their feeling. They've seen, hey, Krishna's always taking care of things, so let's go. And then the parents have a different bhav, different emotion. Oh no, Krishna's in a difficult situation. What should we do? We have to protect him. We have to apply mantras to his body to protect him. That's the parental affection. So he creates situations so they can have some heightened loving sentiment. And it keeps, the kaleidoscope keeps moving. The picture changes, and the picture changes, and the picture changes, and the picture changes. And there are different moods of love, resting upon the primary rasa that they have. And amongst the cowherd boys, there's different feelings. Like, when they saw the Agasura demon, some were, oh no, and some were, hey, let's look like this, like fun. And some were saying, maybe Krishna created this just for us to play. Like a statue or something out here on our pasturing ground. Maybe Krishna did it. Maybe this, maybe that. And the boldest one said, whatever it is, let's go explore. And Krishna, if it's a difficulty, Krishna will take care. Let's go. Okay, let's go. Because some boys were kind of going to run. Ah. So there's variety amongst the cowherd boys. Each one is an individual feeling, and Krishna is stimulating those feelings by these, what looks like an obstacle.
Does that mean if there's a devotee in today's world and is beaten or is kind of appearing to losing to the materialistic world, is not the winner in the materialistic world, but having that belief that I'll emerge winner and show these guys around me that a Krishna's devotee will always be better than you. Is that the right way of thinking?
Is your way of thinking the right way of thinking, or is their way of thinking the right way of thinking?
I'm speaking from the devotee's point of view.
But there's
from their point of view, they are the winners. They don't care whether this guy is a devotee or not. They've beaten him. And whatever.
Beaten?
Yeah.
Who's beaten him?
The people in the materialistic world versus the devotees.
Oh.
Generally, you will see that the materialistic guys either don't care.
They don't care.
Or they move around with the feeling that
macho.
Yeah, that's a good word. And here's another guy who's devotee.
Well, so illusion has its variety, and devotion has its variety. It's not, it's not entirely one thing or another thing, because it's there's all variegatedness. Krishna is reciprocating with every living entity. That's stated in Bhagavad Gita. Every living entity. They have a regard for Krishna, and he reciprocates according to their regard for Krishna. And there's all varieties. So, and amongst the devotees, there's varieties. Amongst the residents of Vrindavan, there's varieties, and there's residents outside of Vrindavan, and there's in Vaikuntha. There's variety. And he's at the center in all cases. Even when somebody's in illusion, he's at the center. They think, oh, there's no God. He's at the center. Or they don't care, they're just hedonists, and he's at the center. So I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. Maybe you are, but I'm not. Have I touched on it?
No, you did.
Okay. Different devotees are going to look at this in a different way. Or, the specific, the danger or the risk that it seems that Krishna is allowing his devotees to come into. They're going to look at the danger or the risk in a different way. But our acharyas and Srimad Bhagavatam itself, so the commentaries and the Bhagavatam itself are helping us get the panorama of what some of those different views are. And from Krishna's side, it's different. Sometimes he wants to show the glory of a particular devotee. Just see how unflinching is their love for me. From his side. Or an obstacle is there, so the dependence upon Krishna can strengthen. The obstacle is removed, that this sense of connection and dependence on Krishna has been strengthened. And so many from Krishna's side, but it's reciprocating with the living entity and assisting them in their journey in relationship with him. True for all of us. Each of your family members. It's a journey of relationship with Krishna. According to different dispositions, there's different reciprocation. Okay. Anything else?
Krishna. I just wanted to know, how do we go with Gayatri Mantra?
How do we?
Yeah,
How do we?
yeah, if I have to chant.
In ISKCON, how do we proceed with Gayatri Mantra?
Gayatri Mantra is something which I have been chanting, right? Sure, now 4, 5, 6 years old. And as I told you that we have been following, so that's the only mantra which I knew. And we could chant it again. So now thinking about the chanting of the Maha Mantra, and if I want to chant Gayatri Mantra, do they equate each other, or
Do they acquire each other?
Equate, I mean.
Collate?
Are they equal or equate?
Equal. The Maha Mantra and the Gayatri Mantra. I'll give you what the understanding that I have that comes from Scripture. They assist one another. Preliminary is the Maha Mantra, because anyone can chant Maha Mantra. It doesn't require Diksha to chant Maha Mantra. Anyone can chant. There's rules concerning Gayatri Mantras, who is eligible and how it should be done and so forth, and what condition one should be in when one chants. There's rules. With the Maha Mantra, there's no rules. You can chant standing on your head. You can chant in the bathroom. You can't, Vedic mantras are to be done in a different way than anywhere at any time. And there's to the as far as Gayatri, what Scripture says is it must be received through disciplic succession, and if it's not received through disciplic succession, the word is used nishpala. It doesn't bear fruit. Although it's Vedic mantra, Gayatri mantra is a Vedic mantra, it doesn't bear fruit. So it must be received through disciplic succession. If it's not, then Gayatri mantra is to be received again, or received through disciplic succession. And then how the two correlate, one is specifically for bringing about cleansing of the soul, purification, Chaita Darpana Marjanam, cleansing the soul. And as the soul becomes cleansed, then the eligibility to access Gayatri mantra becomes better because of the purified state that comes from the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. And then initiation into the Gayatri mantra comes next or later. Now, something that you've been doing since you're 5 years old, most likely, almost for certain, it's not something that one received through disciplic succession. It's just something somebody taught you, and you had faith in it, and you've been doing it since you've been a little girl. The phala, or the fruit of that Gayatri chanting, isn't going to come by that method. No harm, but the fruit is not going to come. So the fruit is what we've been discussing here, that is realization of the fullness of the source of everything, the fullness of Krishna. Gayatri is worshipping Surya Narayan, the Narayan in the Surya planet. It's its worship of the personality of Godhead. It's subtle because it's Gayatri. It's subtle to understand what that is and to realize what it is. So it takes some purification. That's a lot. Here's a short. Chanting of Hare Krishna helps to be eligible or be qualified to chant Gayatri mantra properly. And Gayatri mantra is to be received through disciplic succession, chanted certain number of times during the 3 Sandhis of the day. And that's, when and how often, in what condition, best in a purified condition, body and mind, so that the effectiveness can be experienced. No harm otherwise, but the fruit isn't going to be there. The purpose isn't going to be fulfilled.
Atulya, at different stages of one's devotional service, one may need to feel reassurance that Krishna is present in our lives or not. Lives or not, it's a question. Is he hearing my prayers or not? Is that similar to Lord Brahma testing Krishna? Or could it be coming from an innocent need to feel his shelter?
And yeah, it can be other options too, besides those two.
From Radha. I was pondering on the answer that you gave me today morning, and I have a follow-up question on it. Is it okay to crave sweets that is prasadam? Thank you, Maharaj.
Sure. But, don't overindulge. How old is your son? 10. She's 9. The person that just asked this question. So you're eligible to ask questions too, in other words. You don't have to, but I'm just teasing you. Go ahead.
From Manini Radha, Melody Zhang from China. Guru Maharaj, regarding the unfulfilled desire or hidden enjoying spirit, can one simply focus on the service to avoid them?
Yes.
Find it not so clear between escaping and turning to Krishna.
This is from China. This question. Escaping is like negation, and turning to Krishna is not negation, it's going towards light. The best way to diminish darkness is to go towards light. So by escapism, by trying to escape, it doesn't work because you take your mind with you. And when you take your mind with you, when that new place where you're trying to escape to, your mind is still there to bug you. So you put your mind in a certain place with intelligence, and that with that same intelligence you direct the mind to Krishna. So I think that touches on her question. Next.
From Nanda Nandana, 5-year-old son of Ratnavali. Why Lord Brahma has 4 heads? And Lord Brahma only called Krishna to protect Mother Earth. Then why he forgot who Krishna is?
Well, why he forgot who Krishna is has to do with Krishna wanting him to forget who Krishna is. Just like how did Arjuna forget who Krishna is? Krishna inspired like that. Brahma's position is very, very elevated, not ordinary. We can remember and then forget, but Brahma's not like that. He is under the influence of Krishna directly. And why he has 4 heads, there's different explanations, but one of them is when he was born on the stem of the lotus from Garbhodaksha Vishnu, his inquisitive spirit wanting to know who he was resulted in his looking in the 4 directions at one time. Thus he had 4 heads.
Kasturi Manjari, I have a question. Came up from hearing the first part, beginning of the class about living entities entering into the body of Mahavishnu. In the first canto, chapter 6, even though Narad Muni became a pure devotee, still he had to enter into the body of Mahavishnu. Sounds contradictory, as we also hear that a pure devotee attains either Vaikuntha or Goloka, depending on with which form of the Lord they're devoted to.
So how to deal with that contradiction is the question.
Yeah.
Well, if the Lord wants a pure devotee to go to hell, they'll go to hell. And if a pure devotee, if the Lord wants a pure devotee to go to Vaikuntha, he'll go to Vaikuntha. If he wants him to enter into the body of Mahavishnu, he'll go into the body of Mahavishnu. The pure devotee just wants what Krishna wants. So that it's not normal that Krishna wants the perfected soul to enter in the body of Mahavishnu, but Naradi had some service for him. So no problem, some service, let's go.
Second question from her. Another question about Lord Shiva. As Lord Shiva is different than other demigods, Does Lord Shiva also enter the body of Mahavishnu at
No.
the time of annihilation?
No.
Next question is from Veda. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the lecture. Maharaj, you mentioned that the cowherd boys had accumulated pious credits of millions of lifetimes of devotional service in order to become the close friends of the Lord. My question is, how did the cowherd boys follow the process of bhakti for millions of lifetimes and not go back to Godhead before then? How did their lifetimes of devotional service make them the close friends of the Lord instead of just one lifetime's worth of devotional service? Basically, why so many lifetimes? Why not in one lifetime?
Well, what it says is not millions of lifetimes. What it says is krita punya. How many pious activities? So, your question is resting upon the millions of lifetimes dimension, and if Krishna wants, it can be millions of lifetimes, and if Krishna wants, it can be one lifetime. To enter into Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, it's even more elevated, more fortunate, more exalted than going to Vaikuntha or any other of the Lord's abodes. Very, very unique and special. It's not inaccessible, and it's not necessarily millions of lifetimes, in short. Like, for example, there's a similar glorification of the gopis, but amongst the gopis, some are sadhana siddhas, and amongst the sadhana siddhas, it's said in the Bhagavatam and Krishna book that there are two categories of sadhana siddhas, those that have become perfect through sadhana. One of them is the rishis that met Lord Ramachandra in the Dandak forest. Some of the rishis that met Lord Ram in the Dandak forest desired to have such a relationship with Lord Ram, and Lord Ram said, "Not in this lifetime, but in my next pastime, you can join my pastimes." So some of the gopis were from one lifetime of rishis in the next lifetime as gopis, and joining Krishna's rasa dance. And another category is described is some of the Upanishads, hearing the glories of Krishna's pastimes in Braja, they also had such a desire, and they then took the position of gopis of Krishna and Krishna's rasa dance. The question seems to rest on millions of lifetimes, and it's not necessarily millions of lifetimes. It's mountains and mountains of austerities. But the austerities are not just like, the austerities of tapasvis. It's devotional service, lives of devotional service to become so eligible.
Done. No more questions, Guru Maharaj. Paramaru Prabhu is just saying Radha is 10, not 9.
Radha's 10. Send me when her birthday is, please. Okay. last time around. Anyone? Anything? Then it's time for our Bhagavatam installation, right? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Iti namine nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvitesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe.
Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radha.
Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
Gaur Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol.
Antarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Yeah.
Hari Bol. Shri Prabhupada ki.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.